Okay, everybody, we're back with Drop Dice. So we're going to do another No Excuses Play the Game video, this time Warhammer 40k role-playing game by Fantasy Flight. Fantasy Flight Games is a stellar company. Let me start there. They make a very quality book. Now, the only catch is it is a little bit pricey of a system. So let me tell you about the different games that are out there, and if one of them catches your interest, I would suggest starting with that one. And if you fall in love with the 40k universe or how the game plays, you can branch out from there. Each one of these books has little supplement books, and in fact, even Dark Heressy, for example, is on its second edition, and I wouldn't be too surprised if Fantasy Flight doesn't put out other second editions for other things like Rogue Trader, Death Watch, or even Black Crusade, because they really kind of scrubbed out the bugs with Only War, being the last book of the first editions that came out. So you guys can see the titles, I just mentioned them. The publication order is pretty much what I talked about. Dark Heressy, Rogue Trader, Death Watch, Black Crusade, then Only War. And now there's Dark Heressy 2, which Dark Heressy 2nd edition is really good. So here's kind of the rough rundown of what a game should feel like. So let's start with power scale. I'm going to start from lowest going to highest. Only War should feel like you are basically a nom. You are not having a good day. Shit is happening. You are probably going to die. In fact, the game encourages you not to make one character, but to make a squad of characters, because it expects you to die. You are just a guardsman in a really messed up universe with aliens and superpowered beings like Chaos Marines and even your own Space Marines, which frighten the piss out of you quite literally. Definitely a cool game, though, because it's not a game where you are playing the uber hero like you usually are. Instead, you are a guy who's just trying to do what he can after being conscripted into the Emperor's forces. Definitely a neat game to play up. Next up on the power scale, I would say, is somewhere between two of them. Rogue Trader and Dark Heressy, I feel kind of same power scale. I'd say Rogue Trader's maybe a little bit lower. For some of the jobs that are the careers that are in there, and then others like the Rogue Trader itself feels like it's a little bit more powerful than the Dark Heressy book characters. But on the flip side, the Dark Heressy characters, same thing. Some of theirs feel a little weaker, some of theirs feel a little stronger. So I'd say that they're probably pretty even. Dark Heressy, let's start with that one, is kind of an investigation game. If you play first edition, it should feel like investigate, oh my god, we're gonna die, burn it with fire, purify the world, run. If you play second edition feels a little bit more like what an Inquisitor game should feel like, where it's investigate, try and be quiet about what you're doing, don't show the Imperial seal, but if you have to, you do have it available to you. And then you have to balance how open with your investigation you're going to be versus how closed and secure you're going to be. So if you keep very open and let people know that you're looking for things, like you keep asking at all the bars for this one person, word's going to get back to that one person that somebody's asking around for them. In fact, the GM has special tools for that, and they should be using them during the game, because it basically fluctuates between subtlety and not so subtlety. Definitely really cool. I like second edition for that simple fact. I think it's a really neat mechanic, and if you are interested inside the game systems, I think Dark Heressy is a great place to start. The next one's Rogue Trader. Rogue Trader is a very unique one amongst these. It doesn't really take place in the Imperium. Instead, you are a Rogue Trader. You've been sent out to explore new areas and try and expand the Empire. So you have a lot of privileges that other people don't get. So in Rogue Trader, you stand the most likely chance to interact with alien species, discover new planets, explore, find new diseases, find new plants, find new animals, things like that. That's just definitely a really cool kind of thing to do, but you still have the backdrop of the grim, dark future. So as much as you're doing kind of these great, wonderful things, other Rogue Traders may be doing it for personal gain, or even you could be doing it for personal gain rather than for the Emperor. Next up on the power scale is Death Watch, Black Crusade. Black Crusade, I'm inclined to say, is a little bit more powerful. I don't know if that's a design reason, but Black Crusade really does kind of feel a little bit more powerful. Death Watch, you play as Space Marines. Black Crusade, you play as Chaos Marines. Chaos Marines games maybe they feel more powerful because there's less restraint from players. And that could be why it feels like that. Black Crusade's definitely a unique one, though, because as playing as Chaos Marines, you get a whole new view for the world. Because in Chaos Marines, unless you're a Khorne Berserker or a few other examples, you're generally a very methodic villain. So it gives the players the chance to be a methodic villain. The Deathwatch side, however, does allow you to be these superhumans inside the grimdark future, firing off bolter shells that leave basketball-sized wounds in people. Super awesome. Deathwatch is one of my favorites. I love tactical Marines just as a personal preference, but I think all of them are worth the investment. So now you're asking, how do I play the game? This game is super easy. It's a percentile-based game. If you don't know the skill, it's half of whatever your characteristic is. So let's say I have Perception of 24. If I don't know the awareness skill and I try and roll it, I get halved. So I have to roll a 12 or under to be able to succeed. If I know it, I get my full characteristic, which would be 24 or under. If I have the next step up in skills, it would add plus 10 to my roll, so now I get 34 and under. The next step up is 20, and the following step is 30, so you get the idea. Plus there's circumstantial bonuses. Now, a word of caution for anybody who intends to play this game or run this game. The rules for combat are quite deadly, because that's what 40k is about. So your characters can die if you go in foolishly. However, if you go in with a plan, you can feel really awesome. And that's definitely worth mentioning inside this game, that you will feel action hero awesome pretty much every time you play. Even if you're playing as the only war setting where you're expected to die a lot. You'll have a bunch of them die, but you'll feel like your squad accomplished something. That's the way to kind of think about only war. Now, the other thing that I really like about the game is pretty much every one of these has a variant of it. Essentially, you are given a quote, and the quote gives you special characteristics, just like your career gives you special characteristics, and your home world kind of shapes what character you are and how it acts out in the game. It's built in kind of a background, starting from childbirth, going into mid-years to kind of like advanced training, and that's how pretty much every single one of these is built. It's definitely a cool system. Rogue Trader probably has the most complicated, but also one of the most fun ones to actually build a character in, because of the way the career path tree works. Aside from that, all of these games are really great, and I would encourage you to give them a try. If you want to do it from the GM, I do recommend two things. However, as a GM, I recommend that you, again, go through the combat section, but number two is to go ahead and invest in a GM screen. There's a lot of complicated, like how criticals work, how critical injuries affect you, how these different little modifiers work, and if you don't use those modifiers, you're going to cheat yourself out of a really gritty game, which is part of the fun of playing this system. With those GM screens, you have all that stuff right in front of you, readily available when you need it. So I definitely recommend that, just because it's definitely worth the investment. And if you're playing at a live table, the art on all of the screens is just really solid work. So they're definitely worth it. Like I said, Fantasy Flight puts out good quality products. So the GM screen that I had from Dark Heressy, while it frayed up a little bit on the bottom because I was using it on a rough table, the screen lasted for years. So it's definitely worth the investment, like I said. It's pretty much all I've got about this series of games. I would recommend seeing if you can get into one. I know that our friend Jarl DM has been thinking about playing some Rogue Trader, so definitely check that out. I was trying to cheat my way into one of them, but I missed his time frame because he had some stuff scheduled that kind of got snafu'd on him. But if I get myself inside a game of any of the Warhammer stuff, I will be sure to see if I can get a link to it and everything so that you guys can get a live play demo. As always, thank you for tuning in, and just play these games, man. I'll see you at the gaming table.